Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and today is day 19 of my Crafter's Companion 2021 Advent Calendar series, and behind today's door we got a set of dies. There are 3 dies and you can see them off to the top right there. There's 2 flower dies and 1 leaf die, and what I did in advance was I just used those dies and die cut out of my foam sheets, and I'm using that as a stamp. So I often do this quite a bit, especially with small dies like these, because I feel like they're really perfect for creating your own pattern paper or background for your card fronts. And the interesting thing about these dies is that they all 3 cut out a sort of a center shape from the outline. But when I die cut this out of my foam, I did not pop out that center portion, and the effect that you get when you stamp this is you get that sort of white halo or that white ring around where those 2 die cuts are. And I discovered this by accident with another set of dies and found that I actually really like how that looks once you've stamped that out. And so that's why I leave that sort of center portion in my foam when I use it as a stamp. So this panel here is just shy of a US A2 size, so it's 1/8 shorter and more narrow than the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 standard size. And what I've done is just cut a piece of vellum that I'm going to use to wrap around this entire panel. And what I like to do is I like to just score 2 edges at first, and then I'll put my panel in there to line it up, and then I'll bring it to my scoreboard and score the other 2 sides so that the 2 opposite edges. That way I can really make sure that this is gonna wrap around this specific panel. Of course, if you're cutting everything and you're really confident in all of your measurements, then you could score it separately to the same size as your panel. But if you don't want to do all the measuring, this is another way that you could do that. Just kind of bring your panel onto your scoreboard and then line up that edge with any of the score lines and score that way. So this, originally I did not set out to make a full front shaker card, specifically because I did cut my panel to actually be smaller than the full front of my USA 2 size card. But I did decide that I wanted this vellum layer to actually cover the entire panel. I really like that frosted look to that it adds, that the vellum adds, and it also knocks back the stamping that I'd done previously, because I did use some pretty vibrant colors and I want for my sentiment to pop out. And originally I was just going to use a strip of vellum, but when I placed it over top, I kind of liked the look of it, so decided I'll use it on the full front of the card, and while I'm at it, why not make it into a shaker too? So I'm just pulling in some sequins that sort of match the colors that I stamped with, so a darker pink or magenta, a lighter pink, and then that sort of grassy green. It just so happened that I have sequins that actually match those ink colors, so that worked out really well. And the little storage container that you saw me bring on a second ago, and the sequins as well, both from the Dollar Tree. I feel like the Dollar Tree is really increasing its range of crafting supplies, and so I found that really neat storage container, which I think is perfect for little bits and pieces like the sequins. And I might have to go back and get some more because it's just so handy. So I've brought in some additional dies that are from previous days. So we have the Happy Birthday word dies and the butterfly die, which was from all the way back from day one, in fact, the butterfly die. I don't end up using the butterfly because instead I chose to actually use the same flower dies that we got behind today's door as that additional bit of decorative element to my sentiment strip, which I'll create here in a second. This Tonic Studios trimmer I got recently in the Mega Mystery Bundle, and I've been trying it out. It's a little bit the thing that I'm not quite used to yet with this is that when you swing the additional arm out, that gets the ruler extended so that you can measure, wider pieces of paper. I feel like it's hard to line that up because it's not flush with where your paper is. It's actually set below it. So that's the one thing so far that's been a little bit challenging to kind of get used to is lining that up, because I'm used to cutters or trimmers where when you swing that arm out, your paper sits flush against that ruler, and so it's really easy to line up. But so far I like the trimmer a lot. It seems very sharp. My big curiosity is how long that blade will stay sharp. It should be expected that it will go dull over time because it's not a self-sharpening blade, but I find that some of the other trimmers I've used, they seem to go dull fairly quickly. And I do a lot of crafting, but I don't do this for a living, so I don't do like an extreme amount of crafting. I think I do kind of a hobbyist amount of paper crafting, and yeah, I feel like I'm going through blades really quickly. Okay, so I'm gonna just die cut some flowers here and some leaves as well, and I'm gonna use some shades of cardstock, solid color cardstock that match as much as possible what I stamped out. That way, that background, like everything coordinates really well. So the sequins coordinate with the stamped flower and leaves. The cardstock that I'm using here will coordinate back to those as well. So it sort of brings those background colors and background elements all the way to the foreground. And so here you can see how for the flowers, it does cut out that circle in the center, and then for the leaves, it cuts out that little sort of leafy design. You could take that as an opportunity to die cut the leaf out of two different colors, like a lighter green and the darker green, and then you can die cut inlay the darker green inner piece, and then get some sort of depth of color onto your leaves that way. I think that's why they've designed the die that way, so that you can actually get sort of a more two-tone leaf and flowers. And for the flowers, if you want your center to be a different color, you can do that as well, and just die cut it out of a third color, for example, and put that circle right back into the center of the flower. So I think it's kind of nice that they've designed it that way, but I'm actually not going to take the option to die cut it out of a separate color, but I will inlay those center pieces right back in. It'll just be the same color, but I think because you can still see the cut line, you're going to still get that detailing of, in the case of the leaves, the veins, or the shape of the veins, and then in the case of the flowers, I think you'll still see the detail of the center of the flower. So I wasn't exactly sure how many flowers I wanted to put onto my card front here. I thought maybe I wanted to do more than the one, but it felt like usually I would do these in odd numbers. So if it's not going to be one, then it's going to be three. And then there didn't seem to be room to put 3 flowers on here. So I did go through and die cut out another flower, but and I thought about maybe using just the smaller flower so that because 2 big flowers I felt like was too much. So I did play with some groupings, but in the end, I only actually kept 1 flower on this card. I think there's plenty of space to add another flower or 2, but I wanted to keep everything kind of within this sentiment strip here, this little band that I have, and I used my 3D my Cloud 3D glue gel. Less for the dimension, but more for the wiggle room that it gives you, because it's got a pretty long open time, so so you have a lot of time before that fully dries to move things around, nudge things around, tuck things under, which is specifically why I used it, because I knew I wanted to tuck these leaves under, but I didn't know exactly where I wanted them to go. So using that 3D glue gel just gave me plenty of time to kind of play with it a little bit, and so that's what I ended up going with, and you can see I tried to still find a place for that other flower, but I'm just gonna add some Nuvo drops that I've pre-made, and that's going to essentially finish up my card. It's a pretty simple card, and I love that you can use these dies to stamp out your background as well. So I think it's just a fun, pretty versatile set of dies for such a small set. And so you can always kind of use your dies as stamps and give them like a bigger impact than what the dies would achieve on their own. So I almost forgot that this does need to go onto a card base. So I am going to put some glue all the way around the back and then attach that to my card front. And as I mentioned earlier, this is just shy of a full USA 2 size card. So there's a little bit of a white border all the way around that shaker front. But this is actually the first time I've used vellum as a full front shaker card, and I like the effect of it. I like how that turned out. I hope that you like this card too, and if you did, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing. And if you want to catch new videos as I publish them, click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I hope you'll come back tomorrow to see what's behind day number 20. Until then, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye!